Good evening and welcome to the August 15th, 2022 Common Council City, Connersville. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Bill Gray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hopkins, can you just please remember Officer Burton from the Richmond PD, please?
My pleasure. Father God, again we stand in the gap with many others while the life of Sarah Burton rests in the balances. I declare life for her as we place her in the hands of the Almighty, who is supreme over life and death. I ask you to wrap your arms around her family and fellow officers and allow them to feel your amazing love as they wait and hope for her life. We trust that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Enlighten us now as this council meets together so that each member will have a clear understanding of the issues they need to discuss. Give them clarity of purpose for this meeting as they open the objectives they need to accomplish. May these objectives drive each member to actively participate so that it will be productive to achieve the desired outcome. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. Please make sure your cell phone ringers are off, and we will begin with roll call.
Councilwoman Barrett.
Present.
Councilman Williams Jr.
Present.
Councilwoman Phillips. Present. Councilman Robb.
Present.
Councilman Gray.
Present.
Councilman Collins.
Present.
Councilman Warner.
Here.
Okay, you have the minutes from the August 1st, 2022 and the August 4th executive session. Are there any additions or corrections to those? If not, entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll move on down to new business. We have approval of resolution 2022-56 reimbursement. Rosemary?
Council Resolution 2022-56 is a resolution to reimburse $100 into the DOT garage and motor supplies.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2022-56.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on down to item B. We have approval of pending ordinance 3805, which is ordinance number 6865, establishment fees for body camera video request. Anyone have any questions on that?
I do. From the information I've read, it dictates that there can't be a charge for this other than what it costs the city to redact these information for a person that requires them. I feel this $50 fee should be lowered. The maximum fee is obviously established by the state law of $150. I think this should be reworded to where it's appropriate with the cost to redact the video.
Any other thoughts from council?
Is there anybody, I mean, maybe, I know the chief is...
These come from other departments,
It did, okay.
Not different departments. It came from a different city.
different city. He
Yeah.
researched other departments as well.
And then it does take time, valuable time, of contacting the company that has the recordings, the backup recordings, to identify which recordings they need to get.
Well, I think maybe it might be a good thing to have it at least to the point where it will avoid frivolous requests. I mean, before somebody requests it, it's something that they really need or need to do.
Jeff, is there any IC codes related to purchasing a video or paperwork from the police department?
I'm unaware of anything that says we have to have a minimum or anything like, or what a minimum is.
Right.
What's council's pleasure with this?
I move we pass ordinance number 6865 on first reading.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second for pending ordinance 6865. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
No.
Do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
No.
We will move for third reading in the next meeting. Going down to item C and D. We have approval of pending ordinance 3806, which is ordinance number 6866, amendment to the utilities non-bargaining salary, and pending ordinance 3807, which is ordinance number 6867, amendment to various department salary ordinance. Rosemary and Brad, you want to come talk about that some?
Today during the Board of Works meeting, we signed and they approved an interlocal agreement sharing a supervisor for the utilities and street department. And then that also changed the way we paid the utility and street department director. So on the various salaries, we removed what salary was on here for the street department director and added the utility street supervisor to the utility ordinance. And Brad, can add anything else you'd like?
Yeah, what she said. No, this is some of the actions need to be taken to help us share an employee. We need a supervisor in both departments, and this will allow us to do it for half the money. So, an efficient way to do things.
Any questions from council?
Is this, we talked before, does this still remove 2 employees from the street department?
We had 2 openings and we only replaced 1. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
We had an open position. We had 2 people that left earlier this year and we replaced 1 of those. So it's sort of a, I'll be careful to say revenue or neutral on the money, but it sort of is. It's not new money.
Any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve pending ordinance 6866 and 6867 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
No.
We have a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
We have
Second.
a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign.
No.
We'll move item C and D to the next reading. Item E, we have pending ordinance 3808, which is ordinance number 6868, establish new funds. Rosemary?
This is pending ordinance 3808 is establishing Fund 4657 for a fire vehicle equipment non-reverting. It'll establish Fund number 2585, establishing an opioid restricted fund. Fund number 2586 will be an opioid non-restricted fund, and 2587 will be a body cam non-reverting fund.
The couple funds there, the opioid restricted and non-restricted, there's still some use clarification that's got to be done on that, so we don't really know much there yet. Jeff and I have been working on it. We don't know much with that, to be honest. We just know that it's coming.
Right.
So the funds will be established for that reason. Anybody have any questions?
Is this fund established through what revenue base?
The money that we get from a lawsuit for the opioids. The body cam non-reverting will be money generated from the body camera recordings that we'll be able to pay for the body cam recordings when we get charged. The fire vehicle equipment non-reverting is establishing non-reverting for fire department like we have for police, DOT, MVH, landfill, and park.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve pending ordinance 6868.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And do I have a motion for third and final reading?
So
To
moved.
move.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, we have pending ordinance 3809, ordinance number 6869, which is a fire transfer. Rosemary?
Pending ordinance 3809 is an ordinance to transfer $2,500 from the clerk treasurer fringe benefit appropriation, $1,000 from the mayor fringe benefit appropriation, and $5,500 from the council grant appropriation into fire gasoline appropriation,
Total of 9,000.
totaling $9,000.
Do I have a motion to approve pending ordinance 6869?
Motion.
I have
Second.
a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Do I have a motion for third and final reading?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Johnny C is trying to join. Have you not seen anything yet?
Nothing yet.
Says the Zoom hasn't started, is what he's saying.
Oh, it started.
We will skip Adam, maybe he can get joined, see what's going on. Do you have his information?
Yeah, I'm gonna send him
Okay. We'll move on down to department reports. Well, we're gonna let John go last. We'll start with Chief Harden. He's working on an issue, so
You got bumped up real fast.
you're first.
Yeah.
I kinda got caught off guard at the 1 o'clock meeting.
After taking a nap.
It's his
Without the
story.
run of my mouth, and I don't know what to do, so everyone should have a copy of my July report. We had a total of 351 calls for service, which brings our yearly total to 1,868. Has my employee report. Our June fuel report. Still do not have July. Because of the system, we're kind of bumping down and not getting it as frequent or as fast as we were. In July, we added 2 part-time EMTs to our roster. One has completed his orientation. The second one is still doing his orientation. He's real new, so he's just going to take a little bit of time to find the groove and to kind of get it up to speed. The first one has about a decade of experience, uses one of the same computer systems that we use, so has experience with that. When you have 3 different computer systems you're trying to learn, that takes a little bit of time as well. So July just really isn't a huge month. It's a lot of prep for fair, making sure we have all the stuff ready to cover events and the tents and all that kind of stuff. So there's just not a lot of exciting stuff going on in July. Does anybody have any questions?
So you reduced your overtime, I believe,
Well, we're going to rectify this the
Which
next
is-
go around.
which is a nice
It
number to
just
see.
it's just a necessary evil at this point. So it's some months are going to be high, some months are going to be low. It's just kind of the way it's
Exactly.
probably going to go. So, but as many, if we can get more part-time people and we fill our full-time vacancies, that's hopefully going to lower our overtime. But just unprecedented times and don't really exactly know what will come around the corner next. All right, no one has any questions. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent Good. Clint? Oh, I can't see out there. Chief Jones out there?
Everybody getting bumped up.
Good evening. All right, we'll start off with the overtime for July. Total of $9,301.72. $515.07 was FLSA overtime. The remainder of that was manpower shortage. Any questions on overtime? Move on down to fuel usage for the month of July, 439 gallons at a cost of $22.19.40. We'll move on to the incident report. For July, we had a total of 200 incidents. Roughly 82% of those are EMS and roughly 19% of those are fire related. And then you'll see a summary of the runs for the month below that. Next, we have a total for the year ending July 31st. We're at 1,158 incidents, 78% of those being EMS related, 22% of those being fire. And below that, you will see a rundown of the runs so far through July 31st. And then following that, we have our training for July. As you'll see, there's several pages of training. The guys did quite a bit of training for July. You'll see there's a total of 102.5 instructed hours for the month. The last class that you see there was actually a class that myself, the mayor, and Brad Calder attended, and my assistant chief, to do some more training on ISO, to get a better understanding of what we can do to, improve the city's ISO rating and get a better understanding of the whole process itself. So for that month, we have a total of 102.5 instructed hours. The last page on here, I have a summary of the inspections we did, total of 13 inspections. We've been averaging anywhere between 10 and 15 a month so far. The goal is to bump that up as we go. Guys are getting more comfortable. Some days they can get one done, some days they can't, some days they get busy, so I'll just reschedule it for another day. So they're doing really well. So
We talked a little about ISO today. Can you do the same thing, kind of talk about ISO?
yeah,
what it is?
for anyone that doesn't understand what the ISO rating is, it's basically a study of insurance companies. Insurance companies developed it many years ago. It's a study on how you can mitigate risk in a city or in an area. The better our department does, the better water we have, the better 911 does. It increases our score, and there's many things that you can score points on. We learned a lot. That was the second class that I attended. It gets down to very specific things that we learned that we can probably improve on a little bit. They go to, hydrant pressures. They'll go throughout the city in areas where there's like large buildings or schools, and they will study the pressure of certain hydrants in the area and score you on that. They'll score the department on, how quick we get to the scene from the initial call to the first arriving engine. We score good points for that. We have very good response times. They'll score points for 911, for instance, the amount of time that they pick the phone up to the amount of time that it takes for them to send the first engine. There's just a lot of things that we learned that, and there's things that we can improve on. Right now we're a 4. We're about 4 points away from getting to a 3, so we're looking at some things that, hopefully we can improve on. They're supposed to be back in September. They come every 4 years. And like I said, we've been working real hard on things, especially record keeping, records, training. The inspections are good. Obviously, the inspections are, to help mitigate risk. So, but we're working real hard on trying to improve that score. And we learned a lot. I picked up on a few more things that I didn't, pick up on in the first class I took. So we got great water. Everybody here knows that we have great water. We have good water pressure in the majority of the city, which is great, when you have a fire, because if you don't have good water, you're going to suffer. So.
I know I mentioned this afternoon that I can remember when you say we're a 4, now I remember when Connersville was a 6, Connersville City. And it does make a difference for the benefit of residents that are watching and whatever. It's not just our insurance, it's resident. It makes a big difference on the
Right.
homeowner policy.
Right. Yeah. The better we score, as a city, you know, the cheaper, you know, the residential rates, the commercial rates, you know, because that's what, if, you know, if any one of you look at the top of your homeowner's insurance, it should say what class, you know, and it should, if you're inside the city limits, it should say class 4. You know, I live in the county, mine's unfortunately a class 10. But there's certain rules that apply, you know, distances, you know, from departments, distances from hydrants and stuff like that, but
Yeah, I was, this was several years ago. I was in a meeting and the insurance agents were talking about the insurance. They saw a decrease across the board and didn't know why. And then that's when I was having a side conversation with the fire chief. That's when he explained, well, the ISO dropped. It dropped before.
right.
And it has that big of an impact on your rates.
Right, and if you look at the graph they presented to everyone in the class, you know, of the cities throughout, well, the country and the state, you'll see, you know, a bar graph, and 5 was the majority, you know, it was the highest group, and then it starts to go down, and we're a class 4. Obviously, it gets
Close to a
more
3.
minimal the closer you get to a class 1, because that's the best class. So,
Right.
you know, we're already, you know, better than average, but, you know, we're just trying to do more.
So it's two things. It is to help drive our insurance rates to make them more beneficial for our community, but also tells the community we have a very active and safe fire department who's looking for ways to improve, because we want to keep, I'm not happy with a 4. 4's great. I'm not happy with it. So
You
it's got
always want to
noticed.
improve.
We're trying to get improvement, but it also helps the fire department plan. So we want to budget new apparatus, new whatever. Well, there's some apparatus we need that helps drive our ISO ratings. If we're going to make investments, let's make investments that really benefits the community.
Yeah, I mean, it studies your equipment, you know, how old's your equipment, how much water does your equipment hold, you know, several things like, and I told the Board of Works earlier, I said a lot of times, you know, the reason you don't see on the front page of the paper, you know, monster house fires is because we have really good response times. We get there, and a lot of times we get them put out before anybody even knows about them, so. And like I said, that just goes with the water, you know, we got a hydrant almost on every corner, you know, and we get water quick, you know, we get water on the fire quick, and, you know, that's good. You know, I got a great group of guys, they work hard, and, you know, they do their job really well, so.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right.
Is that part of your information to know what pressures on hydrants or?
The utilities will provide those. What he does is about a month before he comes out, he'll send out a packet that we go ahead and get filled out, and it saves him time when he comes. And his goal is used to they would spend a whole day or longer, you know, in your city, and their goal now is to come down and maybe spend 4 hours. He'll take the packet, verify some things, and then go back and study the packet, you know, and then come back and give you your score.
I mean, as a fire department, do you know the pressures of various hydrants throughout the city?
Well, they're in the city. They're painted, you know, green, orange, and red. You know, green being great pressure, orange being okay, red, you know, that, you know, to watch it, or you might, you know. And then there's areas where there's fire pumps that, you know, will kick on also. But yeah, if you got a green hydrant, you know, you're in good shape. But you know, for the most part, other than maybe some areas up on the hill, you know, we've got really good water.
Yeah. The other question I have is EVOC training. Where do you do that at?
Wherever we can. In the past, we've always done it up at the airport. They always let us use the lot up there to set it up. We've done it at the high school before, but we do it about, you know, just about wherever we can, you know, get access to, you know, a big lot until we come up with our own, you know, facility. Hopefully here one of these days. That'd be nice.
Is a high school lot big enough for that?
It can be, yeah. I mean, you just, you know, you take your cones up, you set up the different scenarios, and, you know, if you're strategic about how you set them up, there's enough room up there for that. You know, it's probably similar with, you know, the other departments. You know, the EVOC is, you know, lane changing, backing, several
Right.
different scenarios.
I know we used to use another facility for that when I was on, so.
It's about like any kind of training. We take, we use whatever we can for now until we can come up with our own, you know, training
Right.
facility. So we take advantage of everything.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks. Thank you.
And Mr. Bodley, you can start. You can lead in the segue with the fire hydrant pressure, because you're testing those.
Absolutely.
Okay, should have received a copy of my July report. Revenue disbursements, we had a pretty good month. Fund balances went up. Anytime that happens, that's a good month. Overtime was $3,517. $1,000 of that was scheduled overtime at the wastewater plant. Attached is the work orders and monthly report for the water and sewer plant. Project updates for wastewater headworks is underway. Not a whole lot to see right now. A lot of stuff is underground. They've been putting in new water lines and drilling new dewatering wells to dry the area out so they can start digging. We have to go quite a bit deep for this headworks project. Miscellaneous, Brad attended the Leadership Alliance Conference, July 27th and 28th. We had a couple trees cut down at the utility office. It was a little close to the building and starting to get into our roof line, so didn't want to, but we had to take them down. Right now, we have a guy out, not right now, but last week, and these next 2 weeks, we'll have a gentleman out flushing hydrants and testing the flow of the hydrant. Right now, I think he's done 290 hydrants in last week and last night. He does this from 9 o'clock at night to 5 a.m. in the morning, so it shouldn't affect anybody's water pressure in their houses during this time period. We have about 500 hydrants in the city, about 150 in the county that he will check. And he flushes them out and he checks the pressure compared, and we do this every other year, so he has the sheet from 2 years ago to make sure the pressure matches, that we haven't lost any pressure on these hydrants. And he writes down any notes if something's wrong, something needs repaired, he writes that down too so we can get those hydrants fixed. He started on the north side of town last week and he'll just keep heading south. He's probably around 15th, 16th Street right now. One thing I didn't talk about this morning was we are required by EPA to inventory all of our service lines in the city. That is from the customer's house to the meter, to the meter, to the main. And there's a couple of ways to do this. One way is what we will be sending out a questionnaire, and next meeting I'll have that questionnaire for you guys to look at. Pretty much states, hey, can you go to your basement, your crawl space, can you tell us what material is coming into your house? There'll be choices: copper, lead, steel, plastic, or I don't know. And we're trying to do this because if you don't know, then we have to pothole their yard, dig a hole, check their service, and inventory it. So the more help we get through this little questionnaire, the better. Then we'll be out potholing right before their meter, not out in the middle of the yard, but we're trying to make it as invasive as possible. But these questions should be sent out. We'll probably do sections of town. Not whole 6,000 at once. We'll probably do little sections at a time so we can get those compiled and entered on the map and kind of see where we go. But we have until 2024 to do this. That sounds like a long time, but it's not. We have to figure out what's on the meter side to our main, which sometimes is difficult too. We don't really have any old records of that. So next meeting, like I said, we'll have those copies and we'll start sending those out. Any questions on that? And we understand some people just won't be able to do it. Just can't do it, and that's fine. But this is like our first initial push to get as many as we can before we start potholing people's yards.
Is there any material that they prefer the homeowner uses?
Right now, everybody pretty much uses plastic.
Is there one preferred over the other
No,
that you know of?
no, everything's going to PVC right now. They're looking for, there's galvanized copper, lead. We're kind of looking for lead lines. Then one day we need to get those lead lines replaced. That's basically what inventory is for.
So they're primarily, like you said, after lead lines, not copper or...
We want an inventory of all the materials in the city. We need to know what our service lines are made of, but they're really looking for, part of that is the lead lines.
Okay.
Okay, you did the same thing this evening that you did this afternoon, so I'm going to say it, that you passed.
I passed my water 3 tests.
Yes. And that's a tough one that I've been told, so congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
Very good job.
Yeah, thank you.
I was gonna brag on him.
He's
You can brag on him too.
unusually shy today for some reason. That WT3 is a hard test to pass, so need to give him credit for that. That's tough. I was going to tell you a few things. I told Board of Works today, I've spent just about all my time the last couple of weeks working on the Headworks project. We're trying to figure out how to dewater. I had a meeting today that wasn't very pleasant to find out how much some of our options were besides dewatering down there. We're looking at a couple of other ways to do that project without having to dewater so many. I don't think I said today, but we're possibly going to have to dewater up to 5 million gallons a day out of the ground because the water table down there is at 15 feet and we need to dewater down to 60, so it takes a lot of pumping. So with the pond and everything next door, that's not the best option, so we're looking at some other ones. So I'll keep you apprised as we go on over the next couple of weeks. They're at the point where they want to start digging and now we're slowing them down, so that's not good. Also, I had been talking to you about our water project. We've had to slow down a bit on that because we didn't get in the funding range from SRF, the State Revolving Loan Fund. So we've got to take a few extra months and try to figure all that out. If we don't get in the fundable range next year, we might have to do a bond, a municipal bond of our own, which is a little more expensive. So we're going to drop back and take another shot at getting some funding and some grants and an SRF loan at the very beginning of next loan funding season. So the one good thing about doing that is it gives us a little time. We've got a couple of other little small side projects that we might be able to add into this one big project and do them all together at the same time. So did you have any questions about any of the utility or the street department reports or transfer station? I had told the Board of Works today, I've been thinking about the Park Road lights and the Park Road bench project, and I got permission from them to raise a little money to help keep the lights up and keep the benches up, and to also build a plaque commemorating all the people that gave money to those. All those lights, before we fixed them up, all had tags on them, and we took the tags off because they were getting hard to read, falling off. And so we took them off so we wouldn't lose track of who the names were that were on them, and I'm going to try to get a plaque on Park Road somewhere that has all those names on it. And anybody that's helped in the meantime since then.
Stick around, I want to talk a little bit about this lead line issue, because I don't think it's really been talked about. You're on the alliance, so you understand a lot of the regulations that's coming down, what it means. I was at Indiana Conference of Mayors last week, and the alliance was there, and I don't remember some of the other acronyms. You probably know them all the people involved, and there was a guy there with a biology degree, and he even talked about those tests were harder than any class he ever took in school. So they're a very difficult test. But the lead line issue, you might be able to expand a little more on this, but it's very important we get the information from the meter to the home, because part of the requirement is they're forcing us to replace the line to the house, correct?
Yep.
So that's information we really, really need to know.
Right now, they're highly encouraging you. They're also offering no interest money
Right.
to help finance lead replacement projects. But as we go along, it will be a requirement.
So this was a little outside of my, now they haven't set an end date for that requirement yet, just so you know, but we know the end date for collection of data is 2024.
Yeah.
And then to start replacing it, some utilities have already begun that process, but just,
We're a little ahead of the game. A lot of towns are hiring companies to do that, but
yes.
Mike does a good job with our GIS, so we're able to add data to each home and sort of, at least we're going to make an attempt to do it on our own without having to pay somebody to do it. It's a lot of work, but we think we'll be able to accomplish it.
Yep.
And this, as you guys know, this is all brought up. It started with Michigan, and those lead lines are pretty stable. And believe it or not, they're the best material to use because they're flexible, so when you're plumbing them, it's very easy to work with. But if you add chemicals at all to your water, then it starts to destabilize the inside of that and cause your water not to be drinkable.
Is that what happened in Flint?
That's what happened in Flint.
Well, that's where the big push is, because utilities, we always stop at the meter, and the homeowner's responsible, but I think, is it the EPA that's requiring us to go to the, and there's still some issues they're trying to get with some legislation and wording so that they can do that, but they're forcing everyone to go to the inside of the house, so it's not gonna be an easy job, because now you gotta get access inside the house.
It's kind of weird too, because lead was used in the era of like the 30s to the 50s. So you can sort of look at a house and see about how old it is and take a decent guess. And over the years, you know, those of us who have been here for a while know the areas of town that have more lead than not. But to put all those on 6,000 houses, that's a lot of work. But like I said, Mike, he's pretty good with the GIS, so he's able to pin those locations to our GIS, and that'll help us a lot.
Brad, how do you know whether it's lead or not? I mean, I know you're gonna send this stuff around, but how do you know?
You can tell it when you see it. It's
I
coming.
mean, I know lead, but it's,
The way it's plumbed, there's a technique of plumbing when you use lead called a gooseneck.
okay.
So you can tell, usually you're looking for the connection.
Okay.
And where the tap was made, you'll see this big gooseneck, and it's a
Okay.
sort of a bloated up spot. And that's normally how you can tell. It's very difficult because, you know, a lot of times we would, you know, not too many years ago, we weren't replacing those because they don't never leak. So we would just fix the leaks and leave it because nobody was even talking about getting rid of it. So,
I just wanna make sure council's aware, this is,
yeah,
It's
it's a big problem all over the country.
It is.
I mean, you know, anybody that has homes that were built in that era have it.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Superintendent Good.
Hi.
Hello?
Have a few updates from Roberts Park for you. The pole barn that we got started on is supposed to be finished by the end of August. They've got a really good start on that. The bridge contractor is coming out tomorrow morning to start showing me where the safety fencing is going to go. So that's the next step on the bridge. He is still estimating the project on time, so by Christmas we should have a renovated bridge. The fair went pretty well. We didn't have any big complaints about it. We did have a little bit of grumbling about the posts and the wire around the bridge, but everybody survived, and we do plan to keep protecting our park by continuing to add those. And the next area we're looking at is 28th Street coming east to the pool, and then it would be south toward the fairgrounds. That strip there where people tend to pull up into the grass instead of using the parking lots there that are available. Another upgrade at the pool that we're going to get done, when I started a few years ago, our accessible chair has not worked. We tried to replace the battery. We've tried to contact the manufacturer, and it's really just gone nowhere, and it's been a little bit frustrating. But last week, Duke Energy funded us with a $3,500 grant toward the purchase of a new chair. So the chair costs about $5,000, so I'm hoping the Community Foundation will give us the other $1,500, and that'll give us a brand new chair.
That chair lowers, puts people in that are unable to do it on their own into the pool.
Right. You would have to transfer out of a wheelchair. We don't, have that kind of capability, but, and then once the person is in the chair, you can actually be lowered down into the pool. So it kind of lets everyone enjoy the pool. Another thing we're trying to get wrapped up before winter comes is the Little Bark Park. We have purchased new equipment for that area with the funding from the vet clinic that sponsors the Bark Parks. So that's going to be coming up. And we're also working on I don't know if you saw on our Facebook, but the business agriculture class did a project with our memorial trees where they went out and they located all of them, and now you can click on the tree you want to see and it'll take you to your memorial tree. Well, we lost over the years. We're getting ready to purchase 35 more trees. So that includes the trees identified during that project that have been damaged or died. It includes the trees that were damaged during the recent storms. So it's a lot of trees we're getting ready to order and get those replaced. So if you know somebody that has lost a tree, we're starting to get lots of calls because people are wanting to know when their trees are coming. So those are on the way. And then in programming, we will be offering fall break camp. So it will be just like summer discovery, but it will run over fall break. This year that is from Monday, October 24th to Friday, October 28th. It will still just be for the 1st grade to 6th grade kids. But if you have families that need childcare during that time, we will be open. We're also getting ready for the Jack-O-Jaunt, where we partner with the school system for the pumpkin carving contest. And then we do that up and down the Nickel Plate Trail. And then the last thing I sent you guys, I know there's typos in these are not the final ones, but just to give you an idea of what we're doing, we are getting ready to get signage to start identifying our buildings and shelters. So when we say the covered bridge shelter, people know which one we mean, or at least they can go find a sign. The signs will also include information like who to call if you have a problem during your reservation, and it also lets people know that the shelters and buildings are reservation only. So, if you're just showing up on a Sunday afternoon and someone comes along with a receipt for reservation, they take precedence. So, very excited about that. We also are going to start labeling some of the parks. So like Frazee Industrial and Offutt's are going to get signs now, so people know that they are in a city park. That, a lot of people, when I say the Parks Department, they say, oh, you work at Roberts Park. Well, yeah, but we have 8 parks. So we'll start identifying those and hopefully getting people to recognize which ones are which. And then the last sign on there is our directory sign off the Waterloo entrance. Just kind of telling people which way to go.
I have a
That's all I
question
Sure.
about your trees. Are they to be purchased through the Parks Department?
Yeah, this is our memorial tree program. So it's $125 to purchase a tree. We have 5 different species of trees that you can pick from. And then you also get I don't know if you've seen them, it's a post in the ground with like a small plaque commemorating who the tree is in memory of. So over the years, what the ag class did is they've basically given us a map of where all these trees are because we never had one. So you could come in and say, my cousin has a tree from 15 years ago. Where is it? We would have had no idea. I mean, somebody might have known by chance, but this way we'll be able to show you exactly where it is. And it also helps us keep track of the status of the tree, because we do replace them within the first year if they die or get damaged. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Victor Pause.
Configure the camera. I think this is right.
Oh,
For the month of July, I had 11 hours, 57 minutes of meeting production, 8 hours, 41 minutes of original production. We've got a lot going on this week,
and as we start to get into sports production. Today was the first episode of Spartan Sports Report. Started airing at 6 p.m. Airs weekdays every weekday at 6 p.m. We've got a Imagine This Performing Arts. They'll be doing 3 bands this Thursday at the studio. And that's open to anybody that wants to come watch too. Some of those are really good artists. That starts at 6 p.m. This Thursday. And then of course we've got CHS football versus Richmond home this Friday. So, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
I'll let you get time to get back, get ready for Adam. Hi there, Adam. Hold on, while I'm
Can you hear me okay?
Here we go.
Yes.
Hey, nice to see everyone. Let me share my screen here.
You're froze.
Picture is.
Okay, I am trying to, am I able to share my screen?
Not yet.
I'm requesting access. It says host disabled. Maybe, my understanding is you all have a printout though, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I can just page through it. I'm gonna reference by page number and with the cover page being page 1, okay?
You can do it now.
You can do it. You can share now, Adam.
Oh, okay. There we go. Cool. All right, Council, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. You can certainly follow along with your hard copy. So I have a budget update for you on the city side for 2023. As we move into this fall, we're going to start having recurring updates. Really, from this point, ultimately likely through your October adoption. So as far as update on 2023, Clerk Treasurer and I met with the Department of Local Government Finance Field Rep last Friday. We've made good progress getting all the current year information into Gateway. In a parallel track, I've been heads down pretty much for the last week and a half straight on preparing our own internal estimate for revenues and expenses with all departments. We've met with all departments twice. Now we're in a position where we starting to really get very locked in as far as capital requests, personnel requests, etc. So we're well on track to having our preliminary draft by the end of this month. As far as any questions or any items, any special needs, requests or items that council may have with the 2023 budget, we would continue to ask that you either reach out to us or to the mayor's office directly, and we'll route those through. We're tentatively working towards an update to the budget committee approximately around August 19th, so next week, and we are looking for tentative budget hearings, so introduction mid-September, and budget adoption mid-October if everything goes to plan. So that's where we stand as far as timeline and preparation. Tonight is the first night of many where we wanted to start talking about the budget. One of the first things we want to do is make sure to start to educate on some key budget terms and decisions. And so one of the key foundational elements on the city side is property tax revenue and how it is calculated, how it's budgeted, the key terminology. This is the same that every community, whether it's a city or a town across the state of Indiana, it's all mechanically the same. And in the state of Indiana, there are property tax caps. I'm going to explain those and explain how those impact the city of Connersville. We just received about a week ago the certified net assessed valuation for page 23, so I'll show you those trends as well as talk through the forecasted 2023 certified levy and some growth options. So these are all very meaningful because these impact the taxable value for the community, They look at what you can control relative to the municipal tax rate, and they also are a significant revenue source for the city as well as we head into completing our revenue budget and forecast for next year. So the first thing that I wanted to try to define is the impact of a property tax cap legislation on the city of Connersville. Any municipality for that example, but I mocked this map up for city of Connersville. So I'm going to do my best to walk through this slowly, and then I will pause at the end of this slide and ask if there are any questions, because this is the most complicated thing I'm going to try to talk about tonight. Everything else is much easier. So, as you all may remember, years ago, the state of Indiana adopted property tax caps, and effectively those are a 1% cap on any owner-occupied residences, 2% cap on rental or non-owner occupied homesteads, and then 3% essentially on everything else. So what that actually calculates to is, what I did is I just picked an illustrative example. So think about a property that may be in your downtown. It's a nice property, it's been there for a while. There's essentially 3 different use cases for that same property. You could have an owner-occupant, someone that's their homestead, they file homestead on that property, and they would be under the 1% cap. So in that example, they live there, their property is assessed for $250,000. They would be entitled to a homestead exemption, supplemental homestead deduction, possibly a mortgage, a veteran type property deduction, and ultimately their taxes that they pay are going to be based on this net assessed valuation, the next taxable value of their property. And in the state of Indiana, a primary residence has a 1% cap on the gross assessed value of the property. So in that case, that individual has property tax relief, their cap, and they're paying no more than $2,500 per year in real property taxes, real estate taxes. Well, in the city of Connersville, you have 2 taxing districts. Now, taxing districts are really what make a tax bill for a given property. These are the things such as the city, the county, the school, library, and special districts, etc., that are serving that property. And across the 2 different taxing districts, 003 and 008 specifically, the average district rate, not the city rate, the average district rate is $5.87 per $100 in net assessed value. So right now on that property, approximately $8,800 is billed annually as part of the normal budget process between all of the taxing units that serve that property. So if we compare the cap on that property versus the total budget levy that's being levied on that homestead, the difference, the excess above the state cap, is the property tax cap credit. It's referred to in local government as the circuit breaker credit. It's the amount of credit that you get as far as circuit breaking off tax relief. Okay, so, and this is a property by property calculation. And what I mean by that is each and every property and each and every different property type used has a different calculation. I tried to model that here, these next 2 rows. So if you think about this same property, they move out and they turn it into a rental property. They still own it, but now they rent it out. And nothing else has changed. It's still assessed the same. They've lost deductions because it's no longer a homestead, so it has a higher taxable value. The cap is higher because it's a different property type, and therefore now there's effectively more taxes being levied due to the higher net assessed valuation, and actually a higher circuit breaker, because while the cap was higher, the levy was higher as well. thirdly, let's assume that after a few years of renting it out for residential purposes, the tenant leaves and you decide to make it a small, you rent it out to a small business. And now it's commercial and it gets rezoned for commercial office retail. Small accounting firm, for example, goes in there. In that case, now it's 3% property, still assessed value. You could argue that may go up just for simplicity. No deduction. Now it has a $7,500 real estate tax cap. Levy's a little bit higher. Circuit breaker a little better because now we have a higher cap. So what I'm trying to show here is that it's every property, the different use of the property, and ultimately, in this case, if you compare the $5.87 that's being compared, it is in aggregate much higher than even the highest cap. So what that means is that for communities such as Connersville, and actually the schools and counties and everyone else will share in this, your cumulative circuit breaker credit is pretty high. It's approximately 40% of every dollar of levy that's passed. So the other way to think about that is when I show you the next few slides and we talk about certified levy, and total budget levy, and those kind of things, that is this number, okay? That is this column here. What you're actually going to get in usable revenue to pay for public safety, pay for parks, pay for roads, pay for other essential services like EMS, is the net. So it's what you get as certified levy minus what the aggregate community's tax credits are. That difference, that remaining sum, is what I call the net levy. That's the net usable levy. Okay. I just covered a lot over a Zoom, so let me pause and see if there's any initial questions on anything related to the property tax cap and how it is when calculated and how it impacts you. Okay, so then as far as the next item, we've got the certified net assessed valuation. It's the highest that it's been since we've been tracking it. It grew on a certified basis up 8.37% year over year, and it's now solidly over $360 million in net assessed valuation. So that's the gross assessed valuation minus any property deduction is the net assessed valuation, and it's growing faster and faster. It's growing on an average of 5.5% per year. It's made up, pretty diversified between 1%, 2%, 3% real property, but then about another 14% or so in business personal property. The certified levy, again, this, now that we define this term, this is the amount of levy that's budgeted, but it's before any circuit breaker credit. It is actually established to grow based on what's called a state growth quotient. It's tied to non-farm payroll, and effectively, it has also been trending higher over the last 3 years. It's averaged approximately 4.5%, and the allocation of the current levy by fund is up here. So the majority, almost $3 out of $4, go to the general fund, with the remaining amounts going to MBH, Park, and then to electric and aviation. So putting all this together, so the certified levy and divided by your net assessed value is what creates a unit taxing rate. So, as we look into 2023, you have net assessed value growing at a faster rate than your levy. So right now we're forecasting that your tax rate actually goes down. Because you've been growing so fast, one of the options that you have is what's called a levy growth appeal. What that would allow you to do is essentially get a 7% levy growth as compared to a 5% levy growth next year, which will allow you to maintain that tax rate a little bit and potentially net out additional revenue for your community. So one of the things that I wanted to ask today is just seek some direction from the council. If you wanted us to proceed with the levy kind of as it's currently projected, which is about that 5% growth, or if you wanted us to, proceed with pursuing the additional growth option just based on the trend here where your net assessed values are growing faster than the taxes are to support those properties. So with that, I will pause. I know I covered a lot and in a virtual setting, so I'll pause and see if you have any questions.
Ask your questions, now's the time.
Adam, with your 5% levy growth, what are you thinking that's gonna be for us for, let's say we go with 5% right now. What are you
Yeah, the
seeing
five-
out from that?
Yeah, the 5%, so no council action with the 5% state given growth. I believe that means on a net levy basis, it would mean an additional $148,335 in usable revenue next year, which would be approximately a 2% improvement in net levy year over year.
So would it be an accurate statement to say that if we maintain at the 5%, we're not gonna be losing anything?
That is a true statement. You'd actually be gaining a little bit just by the normal kind of growth in your tax base. That is a true statement.
Just for the sake of argument, what would the figure be for the 7%?
I apologize, if that was a question for me, I couldn't hear that.
6%.
It said 7, it was
I see
7.
a 7.
Yeah,
Okay, 7.
what would the same figures be if we went to the 7%? If we asked for the 7% and that was granted?
Yeah, I anticipated that question. I believe that the 7% is the 5 on a net basis would net out to be approximately 200,000 in additional net levy. So it'd be closer to about $350,000 year over year change. I should also probably say that the direction we're thinking tonight is by no means, final decision. It's quite the opposite. It really is just a direction for the clerk treasurer and I. Ultimately, if you would direct us to pursue the larger revenue picture for next year, then what we could do is proceed with the budget and the advertisement in such a manner to at least enable that, so that you could see what the tax rate impacts and all those things could possibly be in either case, and make a decision during the normal budget process. I would also let you know that this would be a separate decision altogether in addition to the budget. This would go through the traditional reading process of council and be an action. And a lot of communities in Indiana are looking at this year just because of how fast their assessed values have increased and the strain on resources that they have. So it's this is an annual decision every community gets, and I just always like to make sure to provide it as an option if you had the growth in your assessed values far exceeding your levy.
Would that be your recommendation? If you were doing it, if it were...
I would, as your budget consultant, it is in, my interests are your financial interests, and in this case, this is an option for you to increase your revenue next year, which would allow you to then prioritize that to spending in your community as you choose. And I think there are not many of these opportunities under local control. So definitely, my recommendation would be that you definitely consider it and just make the direction one way or the other. If you decide not to do it as a body, that's totally reasonable as well. And we can proceed with the 5% option, and we can recalculate and re-ask this each year as you qualify.
So you're saying we could pursue if we do pursue the 7%, we're not binding, it's not binding until the actual final determination. Okay.
Yeah, that's
We're not
exactly
committed.
correct. So in this case, it would just be directing us to proceed with that intention. And I mean, that's not the right word, but at least that would be the math we would calculate. And then as far as the budget ordinances and resolutions that the council would have, we would go through in parallel and have a separate decision through council, through the public process on that specific 2% delta specifically. So tonight would be completely non-binding. If at any point in time you decide to just go forward with the state provided growth and not pursue the growth appeal option, you could certainly do that.
Really what you need is some thoughts from council then for a direction.
Yeah, if it's completely off the table, then we won't, it's a not really a laborious process, but there are certain things that the clerk treasurer and I will need to do in order to make sure that we at least put you in a position where you can make that decision. If we advertise in such a manner that that's not contemplated, then that essentially makes the decision for you.
Hey, Adam, would there be any downfall? Would there be any downfall if we decided to go say with the 7% versus the 5%? I mean, any negative effects?
You know, the only negative that someone could say is that, you know, let me check one thing real quick. I'm not trying to dodge your question, I'm trying to answer it. It's effectively more levy, so it does pick up the tax rate a bit, other than what it would be at the 5%. But it's not a significant number. And I want to give you the exact number that we have, just so you can make informed decisions. So right now, this is all somewhat estimated, but we do have certified net assessed values, and we have a certified state rate. Right now, the projected certified rate for next year, the municipal rate before circuit breaker, is $3.35. Okay, I'm rounding a little bit. $3.35 per $100 in net assessed value. If you proceed with the 7 and it's approved by the DLGF, that rate goes to 3.42. Okay, the current rate today is 3.46. So in either scenario, the rate is estimated to go down next year, and it would just be a difference of that 7 basis points or whatever that we're calculating, and that's pretty material difference in your revenue. So from a taxpayer's perspective, on what the city of Connersville can control, your certified rate is projected to go down in either scenario, just because of how much your assessed values are growing faster than the levy growth.
Gotcha.
So I hope that answers.
Yes. It did.
That question there helped a lot.
Helped me a lot.
Yeah, actually, two other points on that, because I've gotten this question, and I'll just go ahead and say it, because sometimes over the years I've gotten the question, is this going to raise my taxes? Like I've literally been stopped in the hallways before after meetings, and residents have asked me that. And the reality is, it's really hard to answer that question, because if you remember that circuit breaker table, you know, everything's two neighbors. You know, neighboring properties could have very different tax bills, have exactly the same house, but if one's a rental unit and one's a single family, you know, residence, their cap, the whole thing's different, right? The houses look exactly the same, the assessments look the same, but their taxing structure could be materially different. So the best resource I would say for individuals is the Department of Local Government Finance has an online tax calculator. It's a fantastic tool. They can put in the county, they can put in their taxing district, and they can calculate their tax bill from their perspective, which includes the city and the county and the schools. That's a great tool. I'll put the link in the Zoom when I'm done speaking so you can have it, bookmark it. The other thing I would say is keep in mind this is what the community can control. What we can't control is what the county, school, and libraries are budgeting right now too, right? So I have no idea if their rates are going up or down, but keep in mind that from the end taxpayer's perspective, it's not just what the city does, it's what all of those units together stack up to be, okay? So that's another just kind of budget facts and reality that we have to deal with. And if I'm at a property that's already at the cap, which a lot of your properties are, any additional levy is noise because I'm already at the cap. I'm not going to pay any more taxes, period. So I'm probably rambling a little bit, but it's just in the spirit of trying to give you an abundance of information.
No, it's good because, you know, we hear these terms, circuit breaker, tax caps, levies, certify, I mean, they got 1,000 terms and it's still confusing to try to understand. I've been out trying to understand this for a long time. He makes it very simple to understand. Just the question you just answered just really simplified it for me.
Yeah. And that last sentence helped a lot too, to me. My thought is, I think since nothing is binding tonight and whatever, I think we should keep our options open. And we still have until the actual approval of the budget. I don't see that we should close any doors or whatever, and would keep the options open until we determine or closer to the end. That's just my opinion. Because once the door is closed, you can't open it again.
I would agree with that, but I would like to see a bigger focus on the 5% on what we can do to increase that 5%, whether it's a budget to increase that $100,000. See if that will increase any through some other belt tightening options.
That's what I'm saying, we'd have
Right,
2
but
months.
I'm just saying with the 5%, 7% is almost a given. Obviously, you're going to get more money, but the 5%, let's not get too ahead and still look at maintaining what we have, increasing what would come with that without having to go to the 7%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'd like to hear from everybody. Helps us make decisions on which way to go. We don't want to spend a whole lot of time working one direction. If they want to go a different direction.
Go down the line.
I agree with Councilman Jevin Collins that we should stick with 5, see where we can go.
I think an extra $200,000 covers a lot of what we've been talking about, so I say we pursue the 7% because it's not that significant of a difference with the projected tax rate between 5% and 7% in our current.
I don't think, let me clarify, but I don't think that's exactly what you said. You said to leave the option open for the 7, at this point.
I agree with both options being open.
Right.
However, I just wanted to
Exactly.
make clear that we owe it to people
Absolutely.
to go with the 5% and open up as many options with the 5% as possible. And look to see where we can continue to increase that $100,000 that comes with the 5% before we go with an automatic, yes, 7% would give us more money. 5% maintains, in my opinion, right? 5% comes close to maintaining. Let's see what we can do to increase that and then go from there. I'm just saying, let's not just push the 5% aside because the 7 is the shiny, I get more money all of a sudden. The 5%, look for other tightening scenarios, but still have the 7 on the table, and then we can discuss further.
That's what, yeah, keep our options over, just not.
That's what I heard you say, so.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard him say too.
Yeah. Well, I'm like Jenny. I like the 7% myself. The $3.35, per 100, versus the $3.42 per 100. That's major there. When you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, we can buy a lot and do a lot for the city with that. And that's just my personal opinion.
Again, this is not bonding. We're
No, right. We just talking. We just talking.
Getting a direction.
Yeah.
One thing I see here too is, from what, just the estimates, it's really, it's, right now, it's $3.46 per, is it per hundred?
100.
Per 100, okay.
Yeah.
$3.46. If we stay with the 5%, and I'm not saying either way, I want to keep that open,
Right.
but I'm just expressing this, it's going to go down to the way it's projected right now. It's going to go down either way. We're going to get less either way. It's
Yeah.
going to go down to $3.35.
Correct.
And the reason I'd like to keep both open is if we need to, the 7% is going to be an estimated $3.42, which is still less than what we're getting right now.
Yeah.
So that's just, yeah.
Mr. Rob.
I lean towards the 7%, but I was with Jay.
Yeah.
Keeping it open for the 5, because I like it even if we're looking at the 5, we're tightening our belts on the 5.
Exactly.
We might all of a sudden, if I understand this right, we could even be in better shape by tightening the belt and still have the 7%. We might have even an extra there. Maybe it's more. Is that something? I mean, if you're tightening, we go ahead and tighten the belt. Say we stayed with 5 and found places to tighten the belt and make it work. We could even do that. But if we're at 7 and we still go with the 7, that's just, I don't know what the dollar amount is, but you might have another $100,000 or something to play with as far as, or to help the situation. So that's where I'm kind of at with it. But I would like to go with the 7, keep that open and take a look at it.
Okay. Mr. Gray.
I'm with Jay on a 5, and keeping it open, of course. Just keeping it open. I mean, we don't make that decision tonight.
Right.
I think it's too early to close any doors.
Yeah. We're talking about 350,000 on the 7%. Yeah.
Right, and that's not the decision we're making.
Right,
tonight.
yeah.
I just think it's too, and I think everybody agrees it's too early to close
Yeah.
any doors, yeah.
Right.
I
Of course
I
we-
think that he brought up a really good question because it's one that I have after my property taxes went up this year. So now my mortgage went up. So the question is, will this raise my taxes?
Yeah.
I would like, because this is very complicated and I just did the math, if I did it correctly, and it could be way off. I want to know the difference between 7% and 5% on an actual home. So for example, if you have a $150,000 value of your home, am I doing this right? So you divide it by 100 because it's per 100, multiply that times 7-cent difference. You're talking $100 for the year.
Send it to us.
He's going into it right now. He's talking, we don't hear him.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can now.
Hey, there it is.
We
I
can.
sound a lot better when I'm off mute. Okay, so I put this link out in the Zoom chat as well, but let me just walk you through a crash course here of how to use this thing. So you can Google the DLGF, Department of Local Government Finance Tax Calculator, click on this estimator, and then select your county, select your district, If you don't know what district you're in, the easiest way to do it is find your parcel ID and look at the last 3 digits. Select that down to here. You're either in 003 or 008. And then just for simplicity, I'm just going to put the 250,000 from our example. Here are the different property types, right? So homestead, owner occupied, 1% cap, 2% rental, 3% everything else. So let's just say I'm an individual homeowner, and let's say that I have mortgage, auto calculates my homestead and my supplemental, and then I'm going to estimate the bill. So down below here, this is in current dollars, say 2022, this is what's all actual. Here's my gross AB. That minus my deductions is my net. This is what drives my tax bill. This is what drives my cap. Oops. Here. So here's my $2,500 cap based on 1%. Here's my gross annual taxes levied across all those that are in my district, the schools, the counties, the libraries, etc. Here is my savings due to property tax cap. This is AKA circuit breaker credit. So this is money that every taxing unit lost. This is what money that the taxpayer saved. In this case, then, I am capped out at $2,500. Here's my total rate. So, and basically the way to think about this is any action we make on the levy, up or down, is not going to impact this taxpayer. This taxpayer is going to pay $2,500 a year in taxes until this tax rate is considerably less, probably to the factor of, needs to probably be at least in half. Before, and you can kind of use this calculator to start kind of reverse engineering that math, but basically, and then in any scenario where taxes go up on a certified basis, it goes up on paper, but it's not going to show up on, they're capped out. They've already hit their limit. So the only way that, additional taxes would come through would be like a school referendum, bond referendum, something of the sort, which is absolutely not what we're talking about in this matter. All this would just be certified rates. Anyway, I hope this helps just kind of walk through this tool. This is, in my professional opinion, the best calculator, period, to try to calculate this, because it does a lot of the hard math for you, and it's more specific by the property. If that same property, has a mortgage, but instead becomes a rental property, that same individual can now calculate it and calculate their taxes. In this case, all right here. So anyway, hope that helps.
Let me ask a kind of obvious and student question. How's that? I was going to say another way. I didn't. So if they're paying $2,500 and we don't, either way we go, it's not going to affect what they pay. The money we don't take, where's it going then? Because we're paying it, but where's it going?
Yeah. So, am I hearing right, Mayor, that if the property's already at the cap, we're billing them more? Where is that? How does that reconcile?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that case, it doesn't. In that case, you would just have higher circuit breakers. There's no more taxes. So our levy's higher. We budget levy, but remember that net levy is exactly the same. If we just think about one property that's already at the cap, if we increase our levy, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't change.
It doesn't change. The taxpayer hasn't paid any more. So the other way to think about then, where does that extra revenue come from on a real net basis? It would be any properties that aren't already at the cap.
Think they could have simplified this anymore for us? Not you, legislator.
But I don't know that I got where that extra, if we don't apply for the extra 2%, where does that 2% go?
It doesn't go anywhere.
It just doesn't go anywhere.
If you don't apply it,
If you don't apply, if we take the, if we,
Levy.
did I hear the question right? So if you don't do that, the 7% option, you just go with the 5. Where does the 2 go? Was that the question?
right,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
You got to speak up.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the term opportunity cost, that's where it goes, because It's an annual decision based on the 3-year averages between the trailing 3-year AV growth, assessed value growth at the community at large versus the 3-year average levy growth community at large. If the assessed values are growing faster than the levy over those 3-year average period of time, you qualify for this. You qualify for up to an additional 2% of levy growth, 5 to 7 in this case. So if you don't decide to do it this year, that 2% is lost. No one gets it essentially. From your perspective, it doesn't get added to your levy. It doesn't ever get billed. Doesn't ever get paid. So it's truly just a kind of a new point, and we move on. And then next year, we recalculate the trailing 3 years, and we see if we qualify again. So it becomes an annual exercise, but not every year are you entitled to it. Because in some years, if your community hasn't grown assessed values faster than levy, you don't even get the decision. Does that help? Does that answer it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Clear as mud.
It's much clearer than it was.
Yeah, Adam does a
Much
great
clearer,
job
yeah.
of explaining stuff. It's a very complicated process, but Adam, I think we have a good direction to go now.
Because before tonight, the circuit breakers were in a breaker box.
We'll get to work, and hey, I appreciate you all listening and being engaged. I know doing this over Zoom is not probably easy. I appreciate you being patient and really digging in and trying to understand it. I mean, I think that I think one of the council members said it best. You know, we're trying to max out both sides, right? We're trying to be efficient on the expenses and the budget. We're trying to be efficient on the revenue side too. And our goal, I tell the mayor this all the time, my job description is to present options and provide resources in every way, on the revenue side and on the expense side. And this is one of those. I appreciate you all listening. Rosemary and I, Clerk Treasurer and I will proceed with leaving that option on the table, and then you'll revisit formally this fall during the budget. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Whew, that was a lot of information, so hope everyone got it. Let's move on down to old business. Anyone have any old business? Miscellaneous business, I have really one thing is Thursday night is our From Farm to Table. I'm excited about that. So Central Avenue will be shut down for a few hours on Thursday night. And every Friday when school's in session is Spartan Friday at City Hall and all city buildings. So I don't get to wear this, thank goodness. I get to wear a Spartan shirt. So we support the Spartans for all of our athletes who are out there doing stuff, and band and everyone who's competing. So City Hall, I encourage all of our businesses to do the same. Just really support our students and athletes and really get out and just encourage to help them succeed. So as John mentioned, we are a little bit excited about Friday night for the first football program, new coach. We got a great group of seniors who came back, so we're excited about that. But I have a daughter who plays soccer too, so we're out there.
I do have one thing I'd like to welcome. We have two Connersville High School students here from the advanced government class, and they probably understand what he said better than we do.
No, because they didn't like calculus.
But we do, and we encourage you to come back and encourage other students to come too, because you are our future, and the more you know, the better off we're going to be. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
By the way, the class requires you got a 10-minute speech. You ready?
I already told them they didn't have
Rosemary, come on. Let me
But he outranked
She
her,
already
so-
shot us in the foot. I tried to get her to do that.
All right, any other miscellaneous business? Anybody out there from the public want anything to say? Ladies? No? Okay. If not, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Got a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Have a good evening.